What they say is, if you step over a small piece of, trash, a little rip of a corner of a paper, if you saw it, what you've just done is you've taken a withdrawal from your bank account of discipline, your discipline account. If you pick up that piece of trash, even if it's not yours, you've just put a deposit into your bank account of discipline, because the little things are what stack up to create the big things. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of hanging out at Phorm Headquarters. Phorm, of course, is the multi nine-figure supplement brand that is run by Sal Frisella and Andy Frisella. You probably know Andy from the podcast hosts of MFCEO and Real AF. He is a great personality and is always out there talking about how to help entrepreneurs and how to grow yourself. And Sal, his brother, was incredibly impressive when I saw him speak. But what I took from that weekend, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday conference that another group hosted at their headquarters. But what I took from that time at the Phorm Headquarters and listening to Andy speak and Sal speak and talking with Mike, one of our direct contact, because we represent Phorm supplements in our Rockbox Fitness locations. What I took from that 3 days is that Phorm is incredibly successful, not because they got lucky, but because they have a standard. They have a standard in everything they do. And it's funny, I went there for the content of the conference, but what I left with was, wow, how a standard can ensure that your business grows and grows and grows and grows and grows year over year. And this is why. When we showed up, you're going to find this hard to believe, but when we showed up, we were given a tour of this amazing facility, and I'm talking gorgeous. I've worked for multi-billion dollar pharma companies, and I can tell you this was as nice or nicer from a headquarters perspective. And, of course, motivational sayings and just, really cool pictures everywhere of athletes using their products. But what I took away is that we were told at the beginning, in a very nice way, like this was not like some giant mandate. This was, hey, this is our house, and here's how we operate in our house because this is our standard. And what they said is, if you use the restroom and you wash your hands, after you wash your hands and you towel off, take your towel and wipe your sink. If anything splashed on the mirror, please wipe that and make it look like you have never been there. So we've all heard the saying, leave it better than you found it. They actually want their headquarters to be so pristine because it sets the standard for how they do their other work, how they handle accounts, how they handle, shipping their inventory on time, all of that. They want to set the standard for cleanliness and personal accountability, personal responsibility. And so, yes, if you get any water around the edge of the sink, you wipe it up. If you get any crumb on the floor, you pick it up. You never leave trash behind. If you see someone else's trash, you pick that up. In fact, what they say is, if you step over a small piece of, trash, a little rip of a corner of a paper, but you step over that, what you've just done, if you saw it, what you've just done is you've taken a withdrawal from your bank account of discipline, from your discipline account. If you pick up that piece of trash, even if it's not yours, you've just put a deposit into your bank account of discipline. I thought that was so simple, yet so powerful on how to view the little things, because the little things are what stack up to create the big things. Another thing is they have 2 employee gyms. And when I say gym, I mean like something you would see at a Lifetime Fitness. Like they're amazing. Like it's probably 25,000 square feet for one and 15,000 square feet for the other. And they're gorgeous and they look brand new. They're not. This building's about 5 years old, but they look brand new because the standard when you use the employee gyms, the standard, and they have 400 employees, is that you re-rack your weights and you clock them to 12 o'clock, meaning if it's a 5 pound, 10 pound, 25 pound weight, you turn it and clock it so that the number is right at 12 o'clock. And that means every single weight plate in the gym has been put back on the exact space on the specific rack where it came from, and it's all clocked to 12 o'clock. So it looks perfect. But again, it's not because they're trying to have the most perfect headquarters. They want to ensure that there's a standard of discipline, because that discipline bleeds over into our work product, into our work relationships, and of course, into our personal life as well. Another thing, if when you finish using, let's say, a weight machine, and you use a pin to do lat pull downs or something, and you're on, you put it on number 8 or something. When you're done with your sets, of course, you clean your equipment and you take the pin and you put it back to the first position, because you never know who's going to be there after you, and you want to leave it like you had never been there. This standard, I can tell you, affected the 100 participants of this conference in a way that was profound. All of us were talking about the standard, all caps, I call it, the standard, all caps, because we all felt a sense of personal responsibility to live up to that standard. And the fact that everything, the chair, if you get up from a meeting, if you're in a meeting and you get up from a meeting, you push your chair back into the conference table while you run to the restroom, and then you pull it out when you come back. Sounds like a small thing, but I can tell you they had a multi-billion dollar partner in that is about to put them into 150,000 doors, 150,000 additional doors. That's a big, big partner, right, to have. When that partner was visiting First Phorm, 2 of the executives from that other firm stood up, pushed their chair back to go take a tour, and Andy, the co-founder, said, "Hey, push your chair back in. We push our chairs back in here at First Phorm." And the guy thought he was joking at first, and Andy wasn't being, a hard ass, or it was just, that's what we do. That's the standard. We push our chairs back in. That's the standard. And you just watch everybody in this organization live up to the standard. And so the standard bleeds out into who they hire, how they fire, how they manage, an adult workplace, because they do manage an adult workplace, meaning if you have to go get a haircut, go get a haircut. By the way, they have an on-site barber to make it even easier for their employees. Legit. But they run a very adult environment of a workplace where there's a lot of high level of trust, because they know everyone is living up to this standard. Now, here is what's crazy. You wonder, well, I don't know if I can do that in my organization. And we have, we play it kind of fast and loose and whatnot. And I'm not that way personally. Well, it definitely has to start from this top. If you don't hold the standard as a leader, you cannot expect your team to hold that standard. Like that's a non-starter, non sequitur, not going to happen. However, if you just pick 1, 2, or 3 things that you are going to personally commit to, and not just this week, not just next week, not next month, but for the rest of the business life, so that they know it's not a flavor of the month, I promise you will see your team rise to that occasion. It's who we are as human beings. We will rise to the standard that is expected and inspected and demonstrated by leadership. If it's expected, inspected, and demonstrated by leadership, the team will rise because they want to. We all want to be winners. We all want to be part of a winning team. And what I saw is the way they hire people, the way they go after accounts, or the accounts they choose not to have, or partners they choose not to work with, all come back to their standard. And what it's made me realize in my own businesses is we have to establish that standard that is non-negotiable. We can negotiate on some other things and some tertiary items and processes, but the customer experience, the results, those are the standard that there is no compromise on. There is no compromise. And once you establish that and you reinforce it and you inspect it and expect it, you will see your team elevate. And so it's funny how we go into these conferences, and I was speaking there as well, and I enjoyed that, but I was there to learn a lot as well. But it's funny when you go in, the things we learn and we take home are not often times the things we go there to learn. And what I left after that experience, and I was there with 2 people on my team, and they had the same exact response and just wanting to get better and wanting to bring back those practices. And I've talked to many, many other business owners and business leaders who attended that same conference those 3 days, and they left with the same feeling and a renewed sense of setting these expectations in their own business. And again, it's tough to have, you can't come in and say, okay, here's 100 new things, and this is the standard for these 100 new things, or 100 things we're currently doing, and now this is the standard. You have to start with one. Start with one, right? Like in the military, it's like, make your bed. Like, why? Well, that sets the standard for the next thing. Make sure your shoes are shined. Make sure that your rifle is clean. Like they set these, they build these brick by brick by brick so that the end product is as close to perfect as we can get it. And business is no different. And it's true in our relationships. It's true in our home life. What is the standard of how we communicate as a family? What is the standard of how I communicate to my children and my children communicate to me? What is that standard that we all have to live up to? And I would challenge you as the listener, what is it in your business? What is it in your business, in your role, in your department that is not performing because there's not a set standard of what acceptable behavior, acceptable outcomes are? What process can you change to create a standard that you personally can live up to and reinforce, inspect, and expect every single day so that the team understands this is non-negotiable. This is how we do things here. This is the level at which we do things here. And just start with one. And then you move on to the second, because then they won't think it's flavor of the day because the first one's still happening. Then you can add that second brick to the foundation, that third brick to the foundation. And what you end up with is a rock solid wall of process and procedures that are miles above the competition who won't go through this exercise. So I personally am doing this in my own businesses, and I challenge you to do the same. Pick something, create the standard, communicate it, and never stop doing it, and never stop expecting it, and never stop demonstrating it, and watch how your business will level up. Good luck. Thank you for tuning in to the ThriveMore podcast. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any of the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and the greatest. You can connect with me on any of the socials at Real Roger Martin. And be sure to check out our website, ThriveMoreBrands.com. There you'll find information on the brands we support and information on franchising. Thanks again for tuning in.